any book signing is going to happen. Nobody else has been getting book signings. What I've been doing at every other stop is just, I get there, I sign 1,000 books, and then the event goes as long as the event goes. But at this one, I thought, well, on the one hand, the joy and glory of this event was it happened because of Twitter. I announced that we were putting together a hasty and ramshackle book tour. Emily twittered me and said, "How would you like to do the press club in Washington, D.C.?" I said, "I don't know, sounds okay." I have fond memories of the press club in Washington, D.C. I was here in this room, on this stage once, in 1998, for when Death, the Time of Your Life, a Sandman related comic that I wrote, won the GLAAD Award, the Gay and Lesbian Anti-Defamation. They give out awards to things that they felt had positive or sane portrayals of gay and lesbian characters in. And they gave me one for Sandman. And it was the only time I can ever remember a room full of people bursting into spontaneous applause at discovering the correct pronunciation of my name. So she said, "Would you like to do it?" I said yes. And then, 2 days later we announced it, and 3 days later all the tickets were gone. And then people got grumpy with me. And I thought, well, okay, on the one hand, it's 550 people. On the other hand, 550 people is actually small enough to do a signing. One of the reasons I stopped doing signings is because at the point where you get to rooms that hold 1,000 people, the entire signing paradigm is now broken. There is no way you are leaving before 2 o'clock in the morning. There is no way that anybody who is still there at even midnight, let alone 2 in the morning, is having a good time. And mostly what it consists of is this sort of sad, endless wait until somebody gets to you, and either they've had this thing in their head they've been rehearsing for 4 hours, and then they get to the front of the line, and by that time, I'm so exhausted, I'm no fun, so they get to the front of the line and they say, "Did you know that actually, the collective noun for larks is an exaltation?" And I say, "Yes." And they go, "Oh, I like your books." So it's sort of this point where you go, well, maybe it's easier just to do 2.5 hours up on a stage and wave everybody goodbye at the end of the evening and stuff. So that's mostly what I've been doing. But this time we thought, wow, there's enough of you, or few enough of you, that actually I could try doing a signing. And for those of you who have babysitters, planes to catch or whatever, I did actually sign a couple of hundred beforehand. So there are a couple of hundred that are already signed, but that doesn't stop you getting back in lines. I will happily personalize them. So, there you go. Right, so 10 years ago, and 2 days. Actually, it's not 10 years ago and 2 days, it's 10 years ago and 4 days. Because although the 10th anniversary tour started on the 21st, which was the solstice and seemed a really good day to start, it's actually because it was a Tuesday. And in America, books are published on Tuesday. I don't know why. Books are published on Tuesday, they just are. So this was actually originally published on June the 19th, 2001, because it was a Tuesday. And I did my first signing and reading an event for it in Borders Books in the World Trade Center. And the tour was long, that first book tour. I did all the way across America, a very, very long book tour. And then I went to England and did another long book tour. And then I went to Canada, did a fairly long book tour across Canada. And then I came home on the 8th of September. And a couple of days later, there wasn't a Borders World Trade Center anymore. And it definitely seemed peculiarly, horribly appropriate, given the book and given the signing tour, that by the end of it, the place that I'd signed wasn't there. The book was inspired by moving to America. I came to this huge and wonderful and very peculiar country of yours in 1992. And I for years, in fact for my entire life, I'd been watching your television and seeing your films and reading your books. There's a very real level on which England is a sort of satellite nation of America. And I'd been writing stories set in America for years. And I'd come in and out of the States, mostly to conventions and things, but I'd been writing Sandman, and people would say to me, how can you write about America when you live in England? And I'd say, well, I might not write a Washington, D.C. as good as somebody who lives in Washington, D.C. does, but I can probably write one that's about as good as somebody who lives in Seattle and has never been to Washington, D.C. would write. And there was a certain amount of truth in that. And then I moved to America. And what nobody had prepared me for was how mind-crogglingly weird this country is. In ways that the locals don't seem to know. I moved out to the Midwest. I had no idea about the winters. I'm English. I figure, okay, I know what cold is. Cold is when, the water in the puddles goes hard, and the water in the air falls in a white fluffy form. And that's winter, and that's cold. I didn't know that you could get up to that. That's what it went down to. Now I have lived in the Midwest for many years. I know the difference between the different kinds of temperatures. I know that when you walk outside, take a deep breath, and feel all of the hairs in your nose freeze, it is below 0. If you walk outside, take a deep breath, and cough in pain, it is below 30. You learn things like that. I didn't have any idea of that stuff. But I point to things that I found strange, like the tendency of the locals to drive a car onto the ice on a lake in the winter and then just take bets on when it would melt enough. And I think that was odd. Somebody last night, I was in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and my driver got incredibly lost. Not just, when I finally figured out where my hotel was and where the place that I was speaking was, I was really impressed with how lost she got. It was 5 blocks. It took approximately 8 minutes to walk it back. But we spent 45 minutes covering pretty much all of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I got to see the Albacore. And the Albacore is a submarine. It's a large, full-sized submarine, sitting, as you would expect, encased up to the point where, as if it's surfaced in concrete, in the middle of a random park by the side of the road. And I'm going, you have a submarine over here. Yep, that's the Albacore. And they saw nothing strange in that.